Dying plant? Pour this in and watch it come back to life. Gardeners swear by it. Let's be honest. If you've ever looked at one of your plants and thought, there's no way this thing can survive, you're not alone. We've all had that moment. Maybe the leaves are crispy, the stems flopping over, or worse, the soil smells like something from a swamp. It's discouraging. But what if I told you that most plants aren't actually dead? They're just waiting for the right help. That's exactly what happened to me. One of my favorite houseplants looked completely done for. Yellowing leaves, sagging stems, roots that felt more like mush than life. It seemed like it was over. But something told me not to give up, and I didn't. What I discovered isn't some fancy garden secret. In fact, it's something anyone can do right now at home. And the results? Incredible. Here's exactly how I brought my plant back from the edge, and how you can too. Why most plants die, and why it's not always your fault. When plants start to fade, it's easy to blame ourselves. Maybe we forgot to water it, or maybe we overdid it. But here's something most people don't know. Plants are incredibly resilient. They're built to survive harsh conditions. What kills them is often poor root health, not what's happening on the surface. If the roots are stressed, everything else starts to fail. That means the trick isn't in feeding it more or shining more light on it, it's in reviving the roots. That's where the real healing begins. The first step to saving a plant is giving it a clean slate. The moment I noticed my plant declining, I knew I had to act fast. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to bring them back. I started by removing the plant from its pot completely. It might seem risky, but it's the only way to really see what's going on beneath the surface. Once it was out, I gently shook off all the old soil, every bit of it. I even gave the roots a soft rinse under room-temperature tap water to wash away anything clinging on. What I found were a few soggy brown roots and some thin white ones that still looked alive. That was all I needed, a sign that the plant hadn't given up. Now, if your plant's roots look fully black, smell rotten, or feel slimy all over, it might be too far gone. But if you can find any firm or white roots, there's still hope. The game changer is something you already have at home. This is where the magic happens. And it's so simple you'll wonder why nobody talks about it more. I reached for my trusted helper, 3% hydrogen peroxide. It's the same stuff people use for cuts and scrapes, but it's also one of the best root recovery tools you can find. When diluted properly, it gives stressed roots a burst of oxygen, helps kill off harmful bacteria, and promotes healing almost immediately. Here's the exact formula I used. 1 teaspoon of 3% hydrogen peroxide mixed into 1.5 liters, about 6.3 cups, of clean room temperature water. This mix is gentle but powerful. I place the plant's bare roots into the solution and let it soak for about 30 minutes. You don't need to swirl it or move it around. Just let it sit quietly. This moment of rest, combined with the extra oxygen, gives the plant the best chance to bounce back. What happens after the soak matters just as much. Once the 30 minutes passed, I gently removed the plant and patted the roots dry with a soft cloth. No rubbing, just blotting. Now, at this point, some gardeners would go straight into soil, but I like giving the plant a little more breathing space before that, so I placed it in a clear jar filled with plain water. No soil yet. This lets you watch the root development and gives the plant a light, stress-free environment to continue recovering. I kept the jar in a bright spot, but away from direct sunlight. A north or east-facing window works well, and I didn't fuss with it. No fertilizer, no extra tricks. Just light, water, and patience. A few weeks later, something incredible happened. 3 weeks went by, and I hadn't touched the water, not even once. It turned a little green, which is normal, but the real surprise? Tiny, bright leaves started pushing through, not on the sides, from the very top of the plant. That's when I knew. This plant was officially back from the brink. It's wild how plants can look dead on the outside, but quietly build strength on the inside. That's what this trick gives them, a second chance. Time to repot for a fresh new start. With new growth showing and the roots looking healthier, it was time to move it back into soil. I chose a pot that was just a little larger than the root ball. Too big, and the soil stays soggy too long. Too small, and the roots can't stretch. For the soil, I made a light, breathable mix, regular peat-based potting soil with added perlite. The perlite keeps the soil fluffy and well-drained, something weak roots need. I added a thin layer of expanded clay pebbles at the bottom of the pot. It's not a must, but it does help prevent root rot by improving drainage. When planting, I was extra careful not to bury the base of the stem too deep. If the stem sits too low in the soil, it can trap moisture around the base and lead to rot, and that's the last thing a recovering plant needs. The first watering is crucial. I didn't use plain water this time. Instead, I made another batch of the hydrogen peroxide solution, 1 teaspoon to 1 liter of water, and gently watered the soil. This helps reduce transplant shock and boosts oxygen where it's needed most. From that point on, I only watered when the top inch of the soil felt dry to the touch. You don't need any fancy meters. Just stick your finger in and feel it. Too dry? Time to water. Still damp? Leave it be. Remember that top piece of the plant I mentioned earlier? I tried rooting it too, just to see what would happen. Sadly, it didn't make it. The stem turned soft, and the cutting rotted before it ever formed roots. It happens, and that's okay. Not every cutting survives, especially when it's taken from a plant that's already stressed. But that's no reason to be discouraged. The main plant made it, and that's a win worth celebrating. The truth is, most dead plants are just overwhelmed. They don't need miracles. They just need a clean start, a safe space, and a little time. The hydrogen peroxide soak isn't magic. It's science. It helps heal roots, clean out the bad stuff, and give your plant the breathing room it's been craving. So next time you find a wilted plant on your windowsill, don't give up. Take it out, clean it up, soak it gently, and give it that second chance. It worked for me, and I know it can work for you too. Keep growing, keep experimenting, and most of all, keep believing in your plants. Because sometimes, all they really need is someone who believes they can come back.